What is going on, New York Knicks fans? Big news today broke in the NBA when Anthony Davis announced that he wanted to be traded from the New Orleans Pelicans. That is right, he wants out. Now the question as a Knicks fan is, do the Knicks want in? Because to me, there's few teams that are in a better situation and better equipped to trade for Anthony Davis, and I'm going to explain that right now. Now, before I get into the assets that the New York Knicks could offer the New Orleans Pelicans for the third best player on the planet, who's still only 25 years old, he'll be 26 next year, the financials have to match. And the Knicks don't have a ton of players on their roster that make $25 million. But I'll tell you what, they have one, and his name is Enes Kanter, who's going to be off the Knicks next year. And no, he carries no value to the Pelicans. But financially, if they were to make the trade in season at the deadline, it would make sense. You have an expiring contract that comes off the books in Kanter if you're the Pelicans, and then you have $25 million freed up. So the financials right out of the gate make sense if they were to make a hypothetical trade at the deadline. Now, if this trade was somehow able to take place, I think it would more than likely happen after the season because, yes, we know the Knicks are probably going to have a top 3 or 4 pick, and there are 3 or 4 potential superstars in this year's draft. We all know that. The Morants, the Williamsons, the Barretts, the Reddish. We know the names. We know that this is a top-heavy draft, and the Knicks are probably more than likely going to be sitting in the driver's seat. They're more than likely going to get one of those top 4 players. But if the Knicks was somehow able to get the #1 overall pick, and this is being reported by Adrian Wojnarowski as well, by the way. Adrian Wojnarowski, who of course is one of the top beat writers in the NBA, is saying that the Knicks are going to be in play for Anthony Davis. So we'll see if it transpires. But if the Knicks had the #1 overall pick, they could then go to the Pelicans. They could say, okay, Anthony Davis makes $25 million a year. He's going to make another $25 next year. After that, he's going to get a max, which is, I don't know, about $40+ million a year in today's NBA, which is crazy. If you were to get Zion Williamson with the #1 overall pick, you're paying him on average $8 million a year for the first 3 years. And he's 5 or 6 years younger. I mean, to me, that makes perfect sense. And for the Knicks, I don't think it does. I'm not giving up. If they get the #1 pick, I'm not giving it up for Anthony Davis. I'm just not doing it for the financial standpoint alone. And I love Anthony Davis. I think he's going to be the best player in the league in 2 years. But I look at it like this. Zion Williamson is going to cost you penny on the dollars in 2 years. He's going to be costing you $8 million, $9 million, whatever it is, for the next 2, 3, 4 years, whatever it is. Anthony Davis is going to cost you $40 in 2 years. And he's going to cost you $25 over the next 2. So I look at it like this. I could draft Zion Williamson, and then I could sign a max player to pair with him. If I trade for Anthony Davis, that absorbs my cap space. As good as Anthony Davis is, that #1, that #2, 3 overall pick for me is just way too valuable. Now, there are 2 scenarios in which I would be extremely interested. The first scenario involves the unicorn, Kristaps Porzingis, who I absolutely love. Kristaps Porzingis is my favorite player in the NBA, and I think he is one of the top 10 players in the league, or will be one of the top 10 players in the league when he can stay healthy. That guy is an unbelievable talent. He's good on both ends of the floor. He needs to bulk up a little bit. He needs to get more rebounds. I understand the knocks, but this kid is a puppy. He's only going to get better. I love Porzingis. But if you're telling me, would you trade Porzingis, who already has had injury histories? Granted, Davis did early in his career as well. But would I trade Kristaps Porzingis for Anthony Davis? You're damn right I would. Now, I'm not giving up a first-round pick with Kristaps. Maybe a future second. Maybe a future first 3, 4 years down the road, because I'm anticipating the Knicks are going to be very good, you know, with Anthony Davis on the squad and with potential cap space. And I'm getting Zion Williamson or whoever I'm getting in the first round of next year's draft. But yes, I would trade Porzingis. I'm not trading Porzingis and a first-round pick in next year's draft or the year after, whatever. Maybe 3 years down the line, like I said. But in that scenario, as much as I love Porzingis, and as much as I dream about the pairing of Porzingis and Davis, yes, I think I would do that trade, especially with Porzingis' injury history. Now, for that trade to transpire, that would also have to happen after the season, because if I'm the Pelicans, I'm not trading for Porzingis unless I know he can play. So Porzingis would have to get on the floor for the last 15, 20 games before that trade is even possible, and the Pelicans would need the assurance that Porzingis would sign with them, which we have no idea if that would happen as well. I'm sure Porzingis would not be the happiest guy in the world. We all know that he loves New York. So that's a hypothetical, but we'll see where that goes. And then, of course, the last scenario, which I would jump all over, and this is the least likely scenario to happen, would be involving keeping Porzingis and keeping the first-round pick. I'd give you multiple assets. I'd give you Enes Kanter if you want him. Now, as bad as Enes Kanter's been, teams have been knocking on the Knicks' door. There have been rumors. There are teams still thinking they can fix this kid. So I'd give you Enes Kanter. I'd give you Dotson. I'd give you Mitchell Robinson. I'd give you all three. And I'd give you 2 or 3 future firsts. If you're telling me I could get Anthony Davis for those 3 stiffs, because that's what they are at this point. Now, I'm not saying they can't mature and become good players, but you're talking about one of the top 5 players on the planet. So if I could get Anthony Davis for Enes Kanter, Dotson, Mitchell Robinson, those young assets, and 3 future firsts, not including this year. I'm going to give you 2 years. I know that there has to be like a break. So the 2nd year, the 4th year, the 6th year, I'll give you all that. If I keep Porzingis, if I could draft Zion Williamson, and I can have Anthony Davis, I'll give you whatever you want. So in that scenario, I do it. Now, as I said, that is the least likely. The most likely scenario, in my opinion, if the Knicks were to pull off this trade, would be involving trading their 1st, 2nd, 3rd overall pick. That trade I would not do. I would do the Porzingis trade, and that's my take on it. And Knicks fans, this is exciting news. Let's see if the Knicks go diving in head first. And I recognize that Knicks fans are going to be reluctant. We got screwed with Amar'e Stoudemire. Big difference. Amar'e Stoudemire was a much bigger injury concern than Anthony Davis, and he wasn't near the caliber of player. The other concern I know Knicks fans will have, if we were to keep Porzingis with Anthony Davis, they say, well, they have similar games. Do they really, though? Anthony Davis grew up as a point guard. He has more versatility. They'll be able to space the floor. We saw it work for the most part when Cousins was healthy, when Cousins and him played together, so I'm not too worried about that. If you could get Anthony Davis and keep Porzingis, you do it. And obviously I don't want to trade Zion Williamson, but if you could somehow pair those 2, keep your 1st-round pick, trade away 3 future firsts, and give them a few assets, you do that in a 2nd. So that's my take on the potential trade, and I'm excited as a Knicks fan. Let's see where it goes. As always, if you like what you watch, please subscribe, drop a comment, tell me your thoughts. What would you do? What scenario would Knicks fans be interested in? As always, cheers.